You're not who you think you are, and Fight Club knew it before you did. 25 years ago, a film dropped that wasn't just entertainment, it was a psychological mirror held up to an entire generation. And what it showed us about identity, about who we really are underneath the IKEA furniture and khakis, still cuts deeper than most of us want to admit. Tyler Durden didn't just punch people in basements, he dismantled something far more fragile, the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Here's what most people miss. The narrator doesn't have insomnia because he can't sleep. He can't sleep because he doesn't know who he is anymore. His apartment is perfect. His job is stable. His IKEA catalog life is exactly what society promised would make him whole. And he's dying inside. The split personality isn't a twist. It's a diagnosis. When you suppress every authentic impulse, when you become nothing but your job title and your purchase history, something has to give. The narrator created Tyler because he needed permission to exist outside the narrow box modern life had built for him. Psychology calls this compartmentalization. Fight Club calls it Tuesday night. The film shows us that identity isn't some fixed thing you discover and lock in. It's a war between who you're told to be and who you actually are. The narrator tried to be the good corporate drone, the responsible consumer, the guy who color codes his filing system. Tyler is what happens when all that pretending just critical mass. And here's the brutal part. Most of us are living some version of this split right now. We've got our work persona, our social media persona, our family persona. We're performing identity instead of living it. The only difference is we haven't given our Tyler a name yet. If that landed, hit subscribe because we're about to go deeper into the basement. The things you own end up owning you. Tyler wasn't being poetic. He was describing an actual psychological phenomenon. We build our identities around what we buy. The car we drive signals success. The brands we wear signals belonging. The phone we carry signals status. Marketers know this. They're not selling products anymore. They're selling identities you can purchase. Own this watch. Become this kind of man. Wear this outfit. Join this tribe. Buy this experience. Unlock this version of yourself. The narrator falls into this trap completely. He describes his furniture like it defines him. That's not just a sofa, that's a set of dishes. That's what kind of dining set defines me as a person. He's literally constructing an identity from a catalog. And when Tyler blows up his apartment, he's not just destroying stuff. He's destroying the illusion that objects can tell you who you are. Studies on consumer behavior back this up. We use purchases to construct and communicate identity. Entire marketing industries exist because we're desperate to buy our way into becoming someone. And it never works, because an identity built on consumption is just another cage with better furniture. The question Fight Club asks is vicious. If you lost all your possessions tomorrow, who would you be? And if the answer is, I don't know, then you never had an identity to begin with. You had a shopping list. Tyler Durden is what happens when masculinity becomes pure performance art. He's ripped, aggressive, confident, sexually dominant, everything the culture tells men they should be. But here's the catch. He's not real. He's a fantasy, a construct. The narrator invented the perfect masculine ideal because he couldn't access any authentic version of manhood. This is where the identity theory gets dangerous and interesting. The film shows that modern masculinity itself might be a performance with no real substance behind it. Men are handed a script. Be tough. Be successful, be stoic, be a provider, never show weakness, always have the answer. And when you try to live that script, you end up like the narrator, empty, confused, creating elaborate fictions just to feel like a real man. Fight Club becomes the space where men can perform a different kind of masculinity. Raw, violent, honest, but it's still performance, still a script, just a different one. The support groups at the beginning are crucial here. The narrator finds more authentic connection at a testicular cancer meeting than anywhere else in his life, because those men have been stripped of the masculine performance. They can't pretend anymore, and in that vulnerability, there's something real. Masculinity isn't toxic or sacred, it's just confused. We lost any coherent story about what it means to be a man beyond consumption and dominance. So guys are either performing toxic masculinity or performing sensitive masculinity. But both are still just performances, still scripts someone else wrote. The identity theory here is simple. If your masculinity disappears the moment you stop performing it, it was never yours to begin with. Project Mayhem takes the identity crisis and weaponizes it. When men join Project Mayhem, they surrender their names, their individuality, their personal identity entirely. You're not a beautiful and unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everyone else. This is where Tyler's philosophy goes full cold. Individual identity was fake and empty, so the solution is to erase it completely and merge into a collective mission. The space monkeys are interchangeable. When one dies, Tyler barely acknowledges it. In Project Mayhem, we have no names. In death, members of Project Mayhem have a name. His name is Robert Paulson. But here's the twisted brilliance. These men feel more alive as nameless soldiers than they ever did as individuals with jobs and apartments. Because at least now they belong to something. At least now there's a mission that feels real. This exposes a hole in modern life. We destroyed most form of collective identity. Religion, community, tradition, genuine brotherhood. We're told to be individuals, to find ourselves, to build our personal brand, and it's isolating as hell. So when someone offers a collective identity, even a destructive one, it fills a void. Men would rather be space monkeys with a purpose than isolated individuals with nothing but a 401k and existential dread. The identity theory cuts both ways. Individual identity without community is lonely. Collective identity without individuality is fascism, and we're stuck trying to find something real between those extremes. The ending isn't just a plot twist, it's an identity collapse. When the narrator realizes he is Tyler, he's confronting the fact that he's been at war with himself the whole time. Every problem he tried to solve externally was actually internal. The enemy wasn't society or consumerism or emasculation. The enemy was his own inability to integrate his authentic self with the life he was living. Tyler wasn't the solution. Tyler was a symptom. The final scene, watching the building collapse while holding Marla's hand, is the narrator finally accepting both sides of himself. The destruction, the creation, the violence, the tenderness. He's not trying to be one thing anymore. This is the identity theory's endpoint. You are not one coherent thing. You're contradictions held together by a story you tell yourself. And the healthier you are, the more contradictions you can hold without fracturing. The narrator fractured because he couldn't accept that he contained both the corporate drone and the anarchist, both the guy who buys furniture and the guy who wants to burn it all down. So his psyche literally split in two. Most of us never split that dramatically, but we're still fragmenting, still trying to resolve contradictions by pretending half of ourselves doesn't exist, still building identities on foundations too narrow to hold everything we actually are. The Fight Club identity theory is more relevant now than in 1999, because identity has become even more confused, even more performative, even more consumer-driven. We're building identities on social media metrics, defining ourselves by our online presence, joining digital tribes and culture war teams like their Project Mayhem cells, consuming identity through influencers who sell us scripts for how to be. And underneath it all, the same void, the same question Tyler asked. Who are you when you strip away everything you've been told to be? You're not your follower count. You're not your productivity stack. You're not your relationship status or your fitness transformation or your political takes. So, who are you? Fight Club doesn't answer that question. It just makes it impossible to ignore. And maybe that's enough. If this messed with your head the right way, subscribe and hit like, because identity is a long game, and we're just getting started.